Grandma thinks she's dying. Then a doctor reveals what they found inside of her. There are few things in life as wonderful as knowing you're going to be a grandparent. Your child is having a child, and you will inevitably think back to raising your child and how he or she has grown into an adult. To now watch your child raise their own family is a beautiful and exciting moment. But what happens if your poor health tampers that news? That's what one grandmother-to-be feared when she fell ill after finding out the good news. But what she was suffering from shocked everyone when they found out. Allison Dent and her partner Robert from country Durham were beyond thrilled when they found out they were going to be grandparents. Her daughter Kylie was pregnant, and that was a balm to Allison and Robert's childless wound. The two had met after Kylie's birth, and both worked to raise her to adulthood. However, Allison and Robert had always wanted children of their own. But Allison had undergone a routine operation right after Kylie's birth that showed she had abnormal cells in her cervix. Allison's cervix had to be removed entirely, leaving her infertile. The couple grieved as they had always wanted to be parents again. However, they were incredibly happy when Kylie shared her good news and thought that if they couldn't be parents to another child, they could at least be the best grandparents possible for Kylie's child. But shortly after the announcement, Allison began to have severe pains in her stomach and abnormal bleeding. I went to the doctors, and 2 months after Kylie's pregnancy announcement in March 2013, I was diagnosed with IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, Allison explained. Allison's doctor prescribed medications for IBS, but the symptoms continued to worsen. Her belly continued to bloat and swell. Her breasts grew sore and her ankles swelled up. Allison felt fluttering in her stomach, and she went back to the doctor, who only prescribed more medications. She began to worry that she might not make it long enough to see the birth of her grandchild. Thankfully, in July of 2013, Kylie gave birth to a healthy girl named Casey Lee, which Allison said was a welcome distraction from the battle with IBS. As the weeks passed and Allison's pain grew worse, she feared that she wouldn't have the chance to see Casey Lee grow up. The doctors continued to dismiss Allison's worries, telling her that it was IBS with some serious symptoms and nothing more. It was manageable, but would take time to find the right medicinal combination to address the IBS. 3 months later, Allison's fears were realized. She woke up in the middle of the night, doubled over with abdominal pain. Fearing for her safety, Robert rushed Allison to the hospital. There, doctors did a scan and told Allison she had developed another cyst. They ordered more tests, but spoke with Allison about the possibility of significant surgery to remove the cyst and any other areas where abnormal cells might have developed. Allison listened to what the doctors said and braced herself for what the next round of lab results would say. In her heart, Allison worried that she had cancer. As afraid as she was in that moment, Allison thought more of Kylie and Casey Lee. Would Kylie be okay raising her newborn daughter without a mother to turn to for support and guidance? Would all Casey Lee ever remember about her grandmother were old pictures and stories that Kylie and Robert would tell her? As these questions swirled around in Allison's mind, a nurse entered the room and gave her some stunning news. The nurse looked at Allison and said that they needed to move her to the maternity ward. A look of horror must have crossed my face, but I tried to make light of it, Allison recalled. I told her I'm a granny, and I haven't had a period in 26 years. There's no way I'm pregnant, but it was the complete truth. Allison, at 43 years old, and after thinking she could never have children again, was 32 weeks pregnant. Instead of IBS, Allison said she had an incredible baby surprise. She called Robert to tell him, and at first he thought she was joking. Then, as reality set in, the couple realized that what had been a source of such pain and fears of death was actually a new life altogether. 8 weeks later, in December of 2013, Allison gave birth to Bobby Charles, and life has never been sweeter. After everything I'd been through, I'd become a gran and a mum in the space of a few months. Now I've never been happier. I thought I was dying. Instead, I got this little cutie, Allison said. Finally, Allison and Robert have a child of their very own, and we're sure this miracle boy will keep them on their toes for years to come. Sometimes what we think is inevitable turns out to be something else entirely. Allison feared that her stomach pains were signs of something life-threatening, and that she would miss out on her granddaughter's childhood. Instead, Allison brought more life and light into the world, and will hopefully have the chance to enjoy these children for many years.